and it is an aggressive buy and build strategy for 2025. We've announced 2 or 3 acquisitions in the last couple of months that we now are full steam ahead in completing. And I think that always supports a stock. It will certainly add tremendous value to the market cap, the balance sheet, and more to the point, it's going to start helping driving revenues, driving cash. And I think those are the key points when you're looking at a stock. And does it have a viable business model? Does it have a great vision? Does it have a great management team? Is it funded? Can it make money? And we've got all of those things in abundance.
The lottery business by itself, right, is $350 billion market opportunity, right? $350 billion global market, and it's growing fast, actually. And you have the #1 domain. I mean, that is the best domain to have. And I don't think people realize the market. I don't think it realizes the value of these domains by themselves. You got lottery.com, you got sports.com. Welcome everybody to Wall Street Reporter's next Super Stock live stream, where we bring you those stocks which have that 10x to 100x upside potential. These are companies going after massive multi-billion-dollar market opportunities that are at a key inflection point, have multiple catalysts in place. And with that, we bring you today lottery.com. The stock has been on fire, up, I think, 150% yesterday. The volume was insane, 144 million shares. And today we're going to talk about what's ahead for the stock. So with that said, we're going to welcome the CEO, Matthew. Welcome to the program.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks for having me on. What an introduction. I think that's the best so far.
Hey, we're trying. We got a lot of people very excited to learn more about the story. Again, the stock has been going crazy. So what they need, our goal is, to help investors understand, companies, full upside potential, right? And, when I looked at lottery, right, I didn't really do too much research before we got on this. I mean, I had the basic story. Now, I know the company's been through kind of a turnaround in the past, but look, as I always say, and I've talked about it in my book, 10-Bagger Blueprint, the past is not the future. You make your money on what the future is for the stock. All the value, the upside potential comes from the future, not the past. And the way I see it right now, I'm looking at this kind of top down. You guys are in, right, the lottery business by itself, right, is $350 billion market opportunity, right? $350 billion global market, and it's growing fast, actually. And you have the #1 domain. I mean, that is the best domain to have. And I don't think people realize the market. I don't think it realizes the value of these domains by themselves. You got lottery.com, you got sports.com, you have other domains we're going to talk about. They're not just domains, they're businesses. I'd like to know more, but let me ask you this, Matthew. To start off with, what are you doing? How are you going to get a piece? How does lottery.com get a piece of this massive $350 billion market?
That's a good question to start off with. Look, it's first of all, it's a pleasure to be on and to be able to speak about the future. And I like how you phrase that. Let's talk about the future and not the past, because it does seem like myself and the team over the last couple of years, you have to deal with the past in order to build a future and build a vision. That's precisely what myself and the team have done, is built a vision that we all believe in. And hopefully investors and new investors will do too. But I could also see that from an investor's point of view, they say, well, it's a pretty easy job. I mean, you've got a domain name like lottery.com and sports.com. How can you muck that up? I mean, it's a $350 billion business. As you pointed out, it's growing. And so how difficult can it be to get a piece of that when you own the domain lottery.com and there's only one? But of course, it's nothing's that simple. But you're right. We've built a vision that a vision and tech that we believe puts us in a really good position moving forward, enabling us to take a piece of that 350 billion. Of course, it would be nice to take a big chunk of that 350 billion, and that's really by revolutionizing the way lotteries are being played around the world. I think most people would accept that they're pretty antiquated. They're very traditional. I don't think they've changed much I can't remember when I first saw the lottery when I was a kid in the UK, but it must be 30 or 40 years. And you buy a ticket, you queue up, and you queue up at your Walmart, your 7-Eleven, or wherever, your gas station, and you get your ticket. And so it really is. It's there for the taking. You've got to bring it into the digital world, and that's pretty much what lottery.com has identified, and finding ways that we can work with 880 other lotteries, 350 billion market, and entice them to work with, which is, I don't think any of us would argue, it's the best domain name to have, which is lottery.com.
Yeah. So one thing is this, right? One of the first videos I did about the stock is, again, I look at things kind of big picture. Okay, you got some great domains. The market cap of the company a couple of days ago, I think, was what, $15 million. The domain lottery.com could be worth, I don't know, 50 million plus. Sports.com could be worth 50 million plus. If you just go to Chat GPT, anybody can do this. Ask, what are the most valuable domains? You're going to get a list of domains that sold for, 25, 50, 100 million. I think with the biggest one sold for a couple of 100 million. That's just for the domain. That doesn't even include the business. So again, Matthew, the way I look at this, maybe I look at, okay, what's the worst case situation? Okay, I want to basically buy an asset. I'm looking at it as an investor. I want to buy a stock where we're getting it at a discount to its true intrinsic value, right? The market cap of the company is, I don't know, 15 million or so. The value of these domains by themselves could be, I don't know, north of 50 million plus. And that doesn't even talk about the upside, but I'll tell you, it's very exciting. I mean, so really, correct me if I'm wrong, but lottery.com, the business, which we'll get into, is you're leading the digital transformation of a $350 billion market. Now that should be worth something for investors.
Yeah, I couldn't put it better myself. That's exactly right. We see ourselves very much in that digital space. The company has been building tech over the last 4 years that will ensure that new players coming into the lottery gaming space eventually we should be able to buy lottery tickets anywhere in the world from any device that they want, whenever they want. That sounds pretty simple, but the tech is obviously complicated. We're proud of what's been built over the last few years, and we're really looking forward to launch that. But I think that ultimately that has to be the game, has to be the aim, sorry, which is to be able to go onto your phone, download the lottery app, and better buy a lottery ticket for any lottery that you want to be able to buy a ticket for anywhere in the world. I mean, providing it's legal and licenses allow you to do so, that has to be the ultimate aim.
Okay, so the business essentially lottery.com will allow anybody to buy a lottery ticket to any lottery in the world. I mean, and again, there's millions and millions of people who play the lotto, and you have all these oddball like places. I don't know, like they have big ones in some of the states in the US, they have ones in the UK. There's a whole bunch of specialized ones which have like their own fan base, and each one has like certain advantages. There's been a bunch of, I think, movies made. There's guys who did these mathematical things to kind of like, not corner the market, but like kind of like buy up certain numbers. I think there's an Australian gambler that I think they call him the whale or something. This guy he basically does this. He finds these lotteries around the world which have like certain advantage. He basically buys up literally 10 million tickets so that he can win. And this, I think he may have moved to the UK now or something. But so how do you make money with this? How do you monetize it? So essentially, Is this live right now? Or like, where's the company with this?
So, I mean, look, you're right that lotteries are played differently all over the world, and we'd be here all day if we were going to start discussing each one of those lotteries. As I said, there's 880 of them, and they all adhere to different rules, different laws, depending on which countries that they're in. And in some countries, it's still illegal, as we know, to gamble, and lottery is classed as gaming. So, look, it is complex. It's a complex business model. It's not just about the tech. It's them working with, if you're in the US, the domestic market, it's working with all of the different states, and again, some states, it's still not legal to play the lottery, and so you've got, there's an awful lot of legislation, red tape that you have to get through in order to be compliant. And so first and foremost, it's got to be ethical gaming. That is absolutely runs through the core of this business and this new team. And you're right. There are, wherever there is gambling, there's a model, whether it's poker, whether it's um, uh, online gambling, or whether it's a lottery. There's always going to be groups out there that are going to try and find shortcuts of winning, and I suppose to a certain extent that's indicative of gambling. But look, from our point of view, we are very focused on building tech, and building a model that is ethical. And what I would really like to see in the future is leveraging that brand lottery.com and building a marketplace that other lotteries will be banging on the door to join us. And I think that is the model that we're particularly focused on. That's not to say that there are not other aspects to it. With a brand like lottery.com, it's so vast. Of course, we've got to concentrate on sweepstakes and other online games. But I mean, but ultimately, the vision is to build out a marketplace that other lotteries will be keen to come on and join us.
And how would you make money with it? How do you monetize that? Do you get a percentage of the ticket sales? Is it a flat? Like, how do you make money with a business model like that?
Well, there's many verticals, and that's the good thing about this. There's not just one vertical. I mean, if it's a reselling model, then you could be paid by the country, or you're paid by the state, and you may be paid a commission. And then, of course, there is insurance-backed lotteries that you can look at, and then there's other games off the back of that. So there's not just one vertical, but of course, if you build a marketplace where a platform where everybody else would want to join you, then of course it opens up so many different ways of working with those lotteries, whether it's a licensing deal, or whether it's just a straightforward monthly fee, yearly fee to join the marketplace. So there's many avenues that we're looking at, and it's fluid. With this, as you say, it's a growing market, and so the business model changes. And you have to be able to adapt quickly as new lotteries come online. A lot of emerging countries out there that are looking to play the lottery.
Oh, this is huge. This is huge. I mean, listen, you got to realize there's going to be, I mean, I don't know how many lottery, I mean, I think you said this, how many, 308? I mean,
880, I think.
800. Okay. Huge number of lotteries. And more coming on. And again, a lot of these, like, for example, in the US, a lot of the states, they need to have the lottery because that pays for their like education system, or pays for, school programs, different things like that. Right. By the way, I'm just looking here. I just realized we have over 1,000 people watching on YouTube, which is like, I think, a record for one of our live streams, which is insane. So Matthew, I hope you don't mind. I got to take this moment for shameless plug here for the channel. Guys, if you're watching this, please click the upvote and like button, or share button, whatever it is, and subscribe to the channel. But again, share the upvote button so we get more people aware of the lottery.com upside story. Matthew, it's all about the algorithm, So speaking of algorithms, so you have besides lottery.com, you have some other very valuable domains and businesses that you're building out. I think you have sports.com, concerts.com. Tell us kind of about I think you're basically putting together sort of a constellation of brands, which could be, major. I mean, these are like blue chip domains. Literally, these are like AAA grade blue chip domains. I don't even know how you got these domains, but what's your tell us about all these brands you're building out.
Look, it's a quite a long, convoluted story, the turnaround. So, and as we said at the beginning, let's talk about the future and not the past. So I can't take credit for lottery.com acquiring sports.com. that was a brilliant move from the founders that started the company back in 17, 18, I think. But when lottery.com, when I was approached by lottery.com and we could see that there was a real turnaround opportunity, I think that the icing on top of the cake was that sports.com was in the data room and hadn't been built out. It really was a blank piece of paper, going back whenever it was that I first was appointed, I think November 23. And so we've had 2.5 years to build out sports.com as a model. And look, there's no question lottery is exciting. And there's no question in my mind. We're even if it's by default, we're in probably the two most exciting sectors on the exchange, NASDAQ,
These are
in
huge
the
domains.
gaming.
I
Yeah,
mean, these are huge.
but in the gaming sector and in the sports sector at the same time, it's a dream come true, right? I mean, it's so. But sports.com, it's not. So we built out a model over the last 2.5 years. It's my job to create a vision, make sure that the team that we're all working together buys into that vision, that the shareholders can see that it's a viable vision it can be executed on. But sports.com is a media play. We're concentrating on the media place, not the sports betting space, because we have lottery.com, which is already a gaming company. And the media space in sports right now is just so exciting, Jack.
Oh
So
yeah.
that's probably, and I would say that's probably one of the main reasons that that we've put so much time and resource into lottery.com, is to build out these two great domain names.
No, I'll tell you what's interesting. We've had a lot of look. I mean, the whole goal with this channel with Wall Street Reporter is our goal is to introduce investors to stocks which have 10x upside potential, right? Like literally, that's again a shameless plug, 10-bagger blueprint. So again, it's shameless plug. But again, we've had a lot of winning stocks. One of these winners we had, which was Fubo. Fubo. We
Of course.
introduced that stock, I think, at $9 and ran to $60 in about 6 months. Not quite a 10-bagger, but it became a multi-billion-dollar company. But Fubo is again, they're I guess like a sports streaming channel, sports first. But so again, I always see this thing as, okay, if there's been success in one area, a lot of times, lightning strikes twice with these things. We've seen this over and over again. When we have a stock in one area do well, usually the next one does pretty well. We've had that like in esports stocks, things like that. So tell us, so the model with sports.com, I see right now there's a lot of news coming out. You're putting out news. What's kind of the business model in terms of the media platform and all that? Like what's kind of the path to profitability down the road?
So actually, you've done a really good job at describing the business model there, because it's a media play, and I think that the way live sports is heading towards streaming live sports to devices anytime, any place, anywhere. But we are heavily concentrating on the bringing a new dynamic to live sports, streaming of live sports, and that's fully immersive using, again, it's a technology play and we are a technology company, but it's tech that we've been working on for the last couple of years and we're really excited about it. I mean, it will be, when we launch that, will be the pivotal moment for sports.com. But I think that, look, it really depends, again, what part of the world you're in. Live sports, it's growing as it should. There's a lot of tension now on sports that you wouldn't necessarily have watched before. Women's sports is coming on really strong, and many people are moving into that space. And you've just mentioned a few now. But what we're really concentrating on is a different aspect of live sports. It's certainly behind the scenes of live sports, getting to know the athletes, getting to know about their lives and so on, has been a huge hit. If you look at what Netflix have done, it's with their documentary and film, just amazing. And we'll certainly capitalize on that. But I think that also watching sport in that fully immersive type fashion is critical. You want to be able to watch sports on your iPad or on your phone, but you want to be able to watch it and feel like you're there. And that's not really been perfected. But it's going to be.
So in other words, it's so essentially your vision is to make it more of a, you feel like a participant, not just a viewer, but with what you plan to do with sports.com, it's going to be immersive and almost like you're in the game. That's kind of your vision for what you have
Yeah,
planned?
look, you mentioned esports earlier. We'll come on to that. I mean, esports is a fantastic part of sports now. But I think the thing with sports is that 20, 30 years ago, the way it was televised was quite boring. And whether it be a football match or a soccer match or a Grand Prix, there was very little going on before the race or before the match. You didn't really understand anything. You wouldn't know the drivers, crash helmets. You wouldn't know you wouldn't know the players before they come on the pitch. And what you did know about them, you would read in the newspaper or something. But what has been absolutely clear over the last 5, 10 years, and we've mentioned Amazon, Netflix, and so on, is that actually where you're creating, where you're really building new young audience is by A, being fully immersive, and B, it shouldn't be off limits. You want to learn about the players, you want to learn about the drivers, you want to know what their home life is like. Social media TikTok has been
Oh,
such
that's
a
right, right.
massive driver behind it.
Okay.
And so it really is building a media platform that covers all aspects. And if at the same time that we can pick up some broadcasting rights potentially, and we can stream some events live, great. But I think you need the whole package.
Okay. No, it's interesting. It's interesting. It's funny you mentioned this. I just, not to go on a personal note. I, I probably shouldn't. So I went out with this girl once who did it. She produced these shows for UFC where she did these fighter backgrounds, bios, and she says that's a huge thing. And I was watching one of these UFC things, and it was like, yeah, they were showing the background of the because it tells you the whole story, right? I think
Of course it does.
with these athletes, fighters, whatever it is, you want to hear kind of their background, about their journey, that it's the person, they're buying into that person. They want to know, because again, people are interested in other people. It's not just two random things. So it's a very, very, very interesting. Now here's the crazy thing. So you got sports.com, again, everything here, these things are still in the very early stages. I don't listen, I think it's so early, you're not giving us the full picture right now, and it's going to come out in the coming weeks and months. So I think the story, it's kind of like the layers of an onion. We're going to see, the market is going to realize what the business model is, that you're probably holding a lot of stuff back, for competitive reasons. Again, the space is very competitive, but I know you got some, these domains are like blue chip, AAA grade. You also have, you got concerts.com, which is, these are all, again, this is like prime stuff. Tell us about that, and what else do we have that you haven't mentioned here?
Yeah, it's like a three-legged stool, and concerts.com was the third leg, and just supports lottery.com and sports.com, supports those brands beautifully. And whilst they are three very different business models, three different profit centers, they work intrinsically very well together. And concerts.com, we've talked about sports.com and streaming of live events, working in the sports arena. When the opportunity to acquire concerts.com, and just to be clear, we have an LOI, and we are looking to complete that transaction shortly. It just opens up so many other opportunities that I could see that within the vision, to be able to be the almost master of your own destiny, and being able to provide, depending on which live events that we're involved in, be the almost everything under one umbrella, whether you're the promoter, whether you're the broadcaster,
Oh, yeah.
and whether you're providing the tickets for live audiences. And also that we're going to be opening up access into, we've picked 3 or 4 sports that we really want to concentrate on: motorsport, soccer. You've already mentioned that one of the press releases that have come out today, that we're very fortunate to be involved in the Indy 500 this weekend by sponsoring one of the new young drivers that's qualified very well. And so It really opens up with having concerts.com. It really opens up multiple revenue streams for the group.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I think, again, I'm kind of, I'm connecting the dots, like you got lottery.com, sports.com, concerts.com. Now, again, so you're kind of in the space of Live Nation, Ticketmaster, and all that. And, before we were doing this interview, I just realized, man, this reminds me of exactly IAC Interactive Corp and Barry Diller. And in case anybody doesn't know IAC, look up the stock. IAC, look up Interactive Corp. And again, a lot of people watching this are probably, I don't know, probably too young, but this is company start. So Barry Diller was, again, a Hollywood legend. This guy, I think he ran major studios. I mean, this guy was the #1 guy in Hollywood. He was like the most powerful man in Hollywood in the 80s, into the 90s. And then he left everything, and he bought he took over an over the counter. He started with a stock over the counter, not even NASDAQ, OTC. I think he had some UHF stations, which are like, TV with like, I don't know, UHF signal. And he got involved with home shopping, like QVC, whatever. Next thing you know, everybody laughed. Everybody laughed. Oh, this guy's a joke. He's a clown. He's a has-been. Everybody wrote him off. Next thing you know, he starts buying these domain names. Everybody's laughing. He bought, and then he started with Match.com. He's got a bunch of these. He's got, what is it? Vimeo. Anybody can look up Interact. He's bought and sold so many of these domains. This guy, okay, so if anybody bought IAC in the early days when everybody was laughing, the stock was, I believe, 20 cents. It was a 20-cent stock. I think there's been some splits. It was recently a $200 or maybe a $250 stock. Anybody that put $1,000 into IAC in the early days would be a multi-millionaire already with $1,000. I mean, IAC was one of the biggest winners, again, in recent market history. And again, very, very similar. I mean, actually, it's exactly almost the same model. Now, I don't know if that's your model, if you're not telling us or whatever, but almost exactly the same. To me, that's what it looks like, which, again, you got these, and that's what he had, IAC. They scooped up, Barry Diller was basically, this guy's genius, media genius, and he scooped up all these domains, all these internet companies, and some of them were early stage, some of them were more mature. They brought in the management teams. They basically built these things up, and he keeps moving it. And again, everybody was always laughing. And the next thing this guy was so far ahead of this guy's like 10 years ahead of everybody. And I think this is kind of what you're doing. I as an investor, I look at this as kind of like a IAC part 2. Like if this is a Hollywood movie, this is the sequel. IAC part 2. If you missed out on IAC making like 1,000 times your money, literally 1,000 times your money, this could be the next one. I mean, we're gonna find out, right, Matthew? We're gonna find out in the coming weeks and months if you are IAC number 2. So with that said, what's your vision for this company? Like, what's, if everything goes right, what does lottery.com look like, let's say 3 years from now?
Well, I might just take your pitch, and I wouldn't mind just being a footstep or two behind Barry. Look, you're on the right track. I've already said to you that the three businesses are, whilst they'll be operated separately, they are intrinsically connected. Of course they are. And we know that the media space and the gaming space is some of the most exciting in the world right now. And to be on NASDAQ as tech stock is equally just as exciting. So we have all of the ingredients. Media play, gaming play, they are sectors that they work well together, but it is fragmented. I mean, if you're trying to think of one company that does sports, media, esports, gaming, live entertainment, concerts, live sports, who does it well and ticks all of the boxes, it's fragmented. It really is fragmented. And so my vision has always been that you've got to come up with a vision that does lottery.com and sports.com justice. You almost can't think big enough. You've got two of the best domain names and now three domain names in the world. You've got to make sure that this vision does all of those brands justice. And I think that's precisely, Jack, what we've done over the last 2 years: clean the company and now build a vision that we're all excited about. And honestly, I feel that this week is the first week in almost 2.5 years that we are now just about to execute the vision that we've pulled together. And I think you did a really good job at describing the track that this vision takes us along.
No, I don't know anything. I'm just looking at it as this is what I think is going on. You're the guy that knows the story. I'm just looking at it like from the outside. This to me just reminds me, because I think here's the thing. Again, the reality is these things are always every massive company, every massive success has always been transformational. If you look at in recent memory, Airbnb. I'm going to start with the reasons. Airbnb. What do these guys have? It became a major. Everybody knows about Airbnb, but what was it originally?
Sure.
Originally, these guys were trying to sell cereal. They were trying to sell cereal online or something goofy, which wasn't quite working. Next thing you know, they were renting out their couch, and then they turned it into Airbnb. And they go. I can go through a million different companies where the business model originally is not what the company is 3 years later. No, we're talking about the media business, right? We're talking about Barry Diller. And we're talking about IAC. What is it? Is it Time Warner now? Everybody, Warner Brothers. Now, again, this was before a lot of people's time, but there was a great book. It was called Master of the Game. It was about a guy named Steve Ross. I don't know if you remember Steve Ross, major superstar in the business world in the 80s and 90s. Again, what did this guy have? I mean, he took over Warner Brothers, and that became major Hollywood. He took over, if everybody knows, Atari. He's the guy that basically put Atari. He basically started the video game business. But what did Steve Ross start with? Steve Ross, nobody remembers, but Steve Ross started with a funeral home and a parking lot. That's what the company was originally, a funeral home, a public company. They had a funeral home and a parking lot. That was the business. And somehow or other, all of a sudden, next thing you know, he buys one business, then he buys Warner Brothers, then he starts buying Atari, then he buys a bunch, and it became multi-billion-dollar company. Again, just like IAC, people made generational wealth. And we could talk about a whole list of other companies. I'm just throwing things that just pop into my head. But I think what investors have to realize is like what we're seeing. I think what we're seeing right here is just at the surface. There's a lot under the surface where this thing has this massive blue sky upside potential. This could be incredible. Again, the main thing is it's like real estate, look, right now, the president of the US is a guy who's, knows real estate, right? And you have the best name. It's like domain names are like real estate, right? And, it's all about location, right? It's like location is everything. You got these brand names, these domains, which are, again, blue chip, AAA names. And, yeah, this is incredible. By the way, we got almost 1,800 people watching here on YouTube. So, guys, if you are watching this, make sure to click the thumbs up or the upvote, subscribe to the channel, because it again helps the algorithm. The more eyes on the stock, the better it is for everybody, right? We want a lot of people to know all about the story. This is incredible. Okay, Matthew. So you talk about the future. What's very important for us is what kind of news flow, what are the milestones coming up? I think it's very important for us to know what are the milestones coming up that investors could look forward to. Because again, what I think our audience wants to know is, okay, what's going to move the stock? What could move the stock over the coming, let's say 2-3 months? What kind of events, what kind of milestones do you have that, I don't know if maybe you want to talk about or you can hint at? I don't know how much you can mention.
Well, look, I've been on the other side of the desk, and when you're looking at a company, especially a turnaround company, you want to know, well, has it been cleaned up? Has it been turned around? Tick, it has. Is it funded properly? And does it have a vision that everybody buys into? And does the funding match that vision? And I think that we've done. I think we've done a very good job at making sure that we've got all of those bases covered. And I've been pretty vocal over the last few months about our aggressive buy and build strategy, and it is an aggressive buy and build strategy for 2025. We've announced two or three acquisitions in the last couple of months that we now are full steam ahead in completing. And I think that that always supports a stock. It will certainly add tremendous value to the market cap, the balance sheet, and more to the point, it's going to start helping driving revenues, driving cash. And I think those are the key points when you're looking at a stock. And does it have a viable business model? Does it have a great vision? Does it have a great management team? Is it funded? Can it make money? And we've got all of those things in abundance.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So essentially, you see there's some M&A opportunities you're looking at right now.
Sure. It's as I say, we have a very aggressive buy and build strategy for 2025 with a pipeline of acquisitions that we'll complete on in 2025.
Okay, so you have deals, and you have basically a pipeline of these acquisitions. Are these basically businesses that would go into, let's say, for example, sports.com or consorts, like operating companies that go into these great domains?
Yeah, exactly that. Exactly that. I would say that it's probably more sports.com centric right now, but there are, of course, acquisitions that we're looking at for lottery.com. We announced earlier on in the year that we acquired a company with some tech that we wanted in order to help lottery.com grow internationally. And we have a couple of other targets that we are negotiating with right now. And sports.com, we haven't really touched on it, but and there's probably too much to cram into this interview. But sports.com is not just a media play; it's also a ventures play. And we have a pipeline of acquisitions that will help sports.com in the digital space, but also there are some identified assets that we know by acquiring these assets, we will be able to grow the brand, particularly sports.com, lottery.com, concerts.com, internationally very quickly. And whether that's in the soccer space that we've talked about over the last couple of months, we have a great team headed up by Mark Berksham, who is a former professional UK football player. And we've looked at we've announced that we've announced sports.com studios. And if you look at something like Netflix, and you look at Amazon, and you look at some of the documentaries they've done, if you look at the Ryan Reynolds documentary and the success he's had with Wrexham, you've taken a small club in the back end of UK that, frankly, in the US, probably not many people would have heard of. It's now one of the fastest growing brands in football. And it's trying to look at opportunities like that and bring them all under the umbrella. And I wish I could tell you more about some of these ones that we've identified. I'm very happy to talk about the ones that we've already announced. But yeah, I'll go back to what I said in the beginning. It's an aggressive buy and build strategy, and it's the perfect strategy for lottery.com and the group.
Okay, no, it's okay. Listen, again, everything you're telling me sounds exactly like what happened with IAC. Putting together a bunch of great domains, great brands, and then you do these acquisitions where, I don't know what do you call it, tuck in or whatever, but you take an operating company, basically you build up these domains, you build up these companies. So this has worked before. Look, IEC did that exactly that. The stock went up literally 1,000. People made 1,000 times their money over the years. Okay, let me ask you this question, Matthew. In terms of, you talk about you get a pipeline of these acquisitions. In terms of revenues, like in the aggregate, what's the aggregate in terms of total revenues of this pipeline? If it closes, I'm assuming, let's say it closes, but just to give us an idea.
Yeah, I've got no reason to believe that we won't be able to execute on the vision, and I've got no reason to believe that we won't be able to complete on the acquisitions that we've outlined. or identified, sorry. And some of these acquisitions already generate cash, which means that it would put the group in a solid place before the end of 2025. I would say looking around 8 to 9 months before we would be cash flow positive.
Okay, but what kind of top line revenues? Like, what kind of numbers are we talking about?
I mean, look, you'd have to split. We'd have to split each three of those verticals and run through them. But I think it will become more and more apparent as time moves on.
Okay.
As opposed to me giving you some numbers
Okay,
today.
no, listen, I'm always trying to, you know what I'm trying to do? I'm trying to get numbers out. I know you can't, you can't say it. I understand. But that's what we try to do. We try to get the inside information out here. But
yeah,
okay,
no, I understand. Well, let's go back to the $350 billion lottery market. I mean, I'm very happy with 5% of that.
Right. Okay, but
Yeah.
bottom line is this: you're looking at right now pipeline of potential acquisitions. These are all revenue generating companies that will be put into your platform. Essentially, you have a platform. This is a platform play that you have here. And there's going to be news. Look, the one thing is this: there's been actually some very good news flow, which I think is very important. I always tell investors, the one thing you got to look for is the news flow. The news flow tells you that's like the pulse of the company. And, to me, I see like very consistent news flow. To me, that means that, something is going on under the hood that people may not realize, but it's moving and moving and moving. And all of a sudden, one day people are going to wake up and realize. I'll tell you what, it's a good thing you're not telling me, or you're not telling the audience too many details about revenues of the M&A pipeline, because if you did, then it wouldn't be a surprise. And it takes upside surprises to make these stocks go up. If you tell us now, it's going to be, it's not going to work later. So it's better that we have the upside surprise for later. And again, I always say, look, the thing is, the great CEOs always pull surprises, the rabbits out of the hat. That's what we got to have here. Okay, let's wrap up because we're going to come back. There's a lot to unpack with the lottery.com story. I always like to ask. We always like to end the interviews with. I always like to ask CEOs. Okay, in your opinion, what are the top 3 reasons why investors should consider lottery.com today?
Always difficult when you're going to speak for investors, and so I'll put my investing hat back on as if I was sitting on your side of the desk again. I think that you've got to look at a company, especially if you're identifying a turnaround. Has that turnaround completed? And what does the model, what does the vision look like? Is it exciting? Is it something that you want to be part of, or is it something that you just want to dip in and out of? And I honestly believe that lottery.com and the rest of the group is a stock that you would want to consider and hold on to. We've already alluded to the exciting 2025 that we've mapped out, and 26 looks equally as exciting. But look, fundamentally, what we have in place is a company that is now effective. It's just about to launch, generate cash. It has an effective S1, and we're fully funded. We have access of around $250 million through 2 funding facilities. And we have this aggressive buy and build strategy in place, which is now not just a vision. It's not just a think big. They're in place, and we fully intend to execute on them. So on that basis, I think lottery has to be up there as a winning stock. And I'd also end by saying this, Jack. Look, the beauty of NASDAQ, beauty of public companies, all of the information is there. And just have a look at where the company is today. You've already mentioned what you think the domains might be worth. And I think that's one of those conversations that we all have different views. Sports.com, concerts.com, lottery.com, I think are arguably up there as 3 of the best domains that you could get your hands on. So what are those actually worth? Then look at the time, sweat and tears that this turnaround team has put into this business, many of whom have taken no salary. We've all invested time and money into turning this company around. It's undervalued. I mean, it is just simply undervalued. And I think that we are now in the position to unleash it.
Yeah, look, Matthew, you know, I'm very, very picky with the types of companies I bring on because, again, I'm looking for stocks which meet, you know, a list of criteria, which, again, to plug the book, it's in the book, 10-Bagger Blueprint. One of them is we got to get into these stocks at the ground floor. I think it's very important. Again, listen, all these stocks are high risk. It's all public venture capital, basically. Any stock can go to zero, even Facebook, even, you know, Google, whatever they call themselves now.
Of course.
But the bottom line is I always look at things like kind of like Warren Buffett would, which is I want to have that, you know, margin of safety. So I like stocks where we can get into it at a discount, deep discount to its intrinsic value or a deep discount to the peer group. So it's sort of like, again, to use a real estate example that people understand, okay, if every house in the neighborhood sells for 500 grand, if all the houses are the same, they all sell for 500 grand. If you can buy a house for 100 grand or 50 grand, which is exactly the same as all of your neighbors' houses, you know, which is a 75% discount to the comps. Basically, what you have is what I call a built-in profit. That's, again, a concept to talk about. Look, you have a built-in profit. I see, again, this is my opinion only. I see this stock, I see lottery. To me, the play is this. I see a couple of big opportunities here. So I hope you don't mind me sharing with the audience, but I see the opportunities. Okay, you're getting into this thing with basically a built-in profit because these domains could be worth north of 100 million, 50, 100. Listen, it's really blue sky because to get this type of prime real estate, and this is prime real estate, lottery.com, sports.com, I get these are like huge, concerts.com. We haven't even talked about the others. This stuff could be worth 100 million plus. The market cap of the company is, I don't know, is it 20 million today? I don't know where it is. It's under 20 million. You got multiple catalysts for upside potential. You got this M&A pipeline. That's the catalyst. Okay, we're talking about multiple catalysts. What's going to move the stock? What's going to move the stock is all the things that you haven't told us, which you've hinted at. You hinted it. You haven't told us. You'll tell us, I guess, in the news flow in the coming weeks. And that's basically the reason why people should put this on their watch list. I think, look, you know, everybody should watching this right now. We got 2,075 people watching this live stream, which is, I think, a record for us. So whoever you guys are watching this, put lottery.com, LTRY on your watch list and watch the news because those are going to be the catalysts that I think are going to, you know, basically tell you what's going to happen with that stock. I'm not saying it's a buy or sell recommendation. It's going to go up. It's going to go down, but that's going to be the fundamentals are going to drive the stock. It's not like, you know, me saying stuff. The fundamentals is what's going to drive the stock. But beyond that, again, I always see, you know, it's always, they say, you know, history does not repeat. History does not repeat, but it rhymes. And, you know, we saw the history, you know, we saw what happened with IAC, very, very similar type of strategy. And we saw that stock go from, you know, 20 cents, 25 cents to $200+ over a number of years. And I see kind of that same type of opportunity, that same type of upside potential, that same type of setup with lottery.com, right? Again, they started with, I think, what did they call themselves? I think it was called at that time, Silver King Network. It was something goofy name, whatever it was something random, whatever. And then they changed the name. They kept, you know, and like right now you might be called lottery.com. A year from now, when you have all these other like businesses, it might be called something else, which gives the company, so people understand like the full name. It could be like, I don't know, whatever it's called, IAC2, whatever it is, but it could be something like that. But I see that as the opportunity basically for this type of, you know, history to repeat. And I've seen that happen so many times. It's crazy. I've seen this thing happen over and over again where, you know, you get these types of opportunities. So, okay, Matthew, thank you for joining us. I don't know. I'd love to get questions from the audience. If we get so many people on it, it's like moving too fast. I can't I don't think I'm gonna be able, again, I don't know if you could see what I'm saying. It's very difficult. If we have any questions, okay, let's open up for Q&A. Hopefully we get some questions. The The live chat is moving. So if we have any questions, guys, put in your questions below, and we'll bring them up on the screen. Otherwise, we got to wrap up in a couple of minutes here. We are pressed for time. People are asking price predictions. Yeah, we got a lot of day traders in the audience. I'm sorry, Matthew. I apologize. I mean, really, this is a long-term story. And again, my goal is to introduce stocks that become 10 baggers, and these stocks that go up 1,000%, 2,000%. Again, we've had things that went up literally 50x, 5,000%. It didn't happen in 1 day or 2 days. I know everybody wants to go to the moon, like today or tomorrow morning. The reality is it takes at least 6 months. All of our 10 bagger stocks, on average, take between 6 and 9 months. It's kind of like the gestation period, and it's what I call the 10 bagger window, right? And again, you've seen this. Every winning stock, any stock that has a major move, a lot of times the big gains happen usually within like a 6 to 12 month period of time, because there's a lot of catalysts, a lot of events happen. That's what I call the 10 bagger window. And for lottery.com, I see the same thing. You're in the 10 bagger window right now, because see, the opportunity is this. This is the opportunity. This stock came out. It was basically, let's face it, it was a kind of like a failed IPO, SPAC, whatever you want to call it. The stock basically became an orphan stock, and everybody gave up on it. And now it's been rebuilt. The company's been going through, again, this turnaround situation. So people aren't aware of all the new things that are under the hood. So again, I always say buy ugly, sell pretty. You got to buy the stocks when nobody understands them, when everybody's laughing at them. That's when the opportunities. And you got to sell them when everybody wants to buy, right? So that we're not at that moment yet. We're not at that moment. We're in that 10 bagger window, which is where people are just starting to figure the stock out. We got a lot of eyeballs on the stock. We got 2,000 people watching this live stream right now. And once you have that news flow, once you get some of this M&A done, once you get a couple of these deals done, I think that's what's going to move the stock. And we can see that at that point, it's the rubber meets the road, the revenues from the M&A and everything else. So,
yeah, you're right. And look, it's been nice to have this conversation with you. When we haven't had to talk about the past too much, but look, when you're assessing a stock, you need to do the math. And so, look back at where the stock was when it listed. And I think it's pretty common knowledge that lottery.com hit the exchange hard and was talked about because it had a great vision, revolutionizing the way you pay lottery.com, lottery. I mean, it was exciting, and bringing it into the digital world was exactly what the market was looking for. I think it was close to $1 billion. Stock was whatever it was, $16. I think it's nearly 300 before the reverse split. I think it was $320 a stock.
Matthew, you know what's crazy? When it was $1 billion valuation, everybody wanted to buy. Everybody thought it was going to the moon. Right. Today, you're at a $20 million valuation, and people are like, "Well, I think it's let's wait and see this." Nobody wants to buy when stocks are on sale. Like Warren Buffett always says, nobody wants to buy.
That's right.
When the stocks are on sale, the people don't buy. When the refrigerator is on sale, the clothing is on sale, they rush out, they load up. But with stocks, that's the opportunity. But I'm sorry, I interrupted you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You were saying. Okay.
No, I think actually, in actual fact, you finished me off. Really, I mean, it was great because you're right. I mean, so you look at the history, and you say, well, that's what the market dictated the company was worth then, for all of the right reasons. And I started by saying, look, if you do the math, just go back over the last 3 or 4 months. You've mentioned some of the news that we've put out there. There are some big clues in there in terms of what the direction the company's moving in, and then just look at the information that's available that you can see. You can work out. I mean, everyone have a different opinions where he said as to what they think domain names are worth, but then look at the business model and look at the vision over the next 6-12 months, and decide, is that a company that you'd want to be involved in? And if I was sitting on your side of the desk, it would be yes.
Exactly. Okay. Matthew, thank you again for joining. Thank you everybody for joining our live stream. Wow, this is crazy. We have 2,187 people watching, a record for this channel. So everybody's watching. Please leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel or whatever it is, thumbs like, whatever they have here. And we'll see you all on the next one. Matthew, thank you again.
Enjoyed it, Jack. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.